Hey everybody, it's Mike from AMZ Advisors, and today I have with me Dan Sugarman, the CEO of Zentail, and we're going to be talking about tips and advice for managing a multi-channel e-commerce brand and learning more about what their tool does and how you can manage selling on different channels online. Hi Dan, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. I'm excited to learn more about some advice that you have for multi-channel sellers. But why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your company first?
Well, I started the business pretty much right out of school. I was getting my PhD in computer science and got a little bit more passionate in solving, at the time, tough international trade problems. And we had, a business line that didn't take off, but made really great connections. We spent time selling, products on Amazon after that. For these warehouses we made great connections with. We learned everything in and out of automation that we needed to sell on Amazon. We became multi-channel sellers ourselves. And, when a lot of these newer large marketplaces launched, we got encouraged to open up the technology we built for ourselves to other sellers. That became a SaaS business called Zentail. That's what we sell today, and that's been exclusively what we do since 2015.
Awesome. Wow, that's a great story and the way you guys just kind of evolved to see what was coming there. I really like that. Cool.
Yeah. We everything that we offer, we pretty much built for ourselves. It's just great to have the deep understanding of the pain that comes with some of the online marketplace challenges that you have to build and sell for others.
Exactly. And I mean, we primarily help people sell on Amazon, and we've dabbled in other marketplaces, other sales channels, and we even know how difficult that is. That's why we primarily focus on Amazon. But I mean, in your opinion, why should sellers be selling on multiple different channels?
That's a great question. There's a couple of main reasons that someone would want to sell multi-channel. The first is that you want to increase your sales. If you feel like you're sort of tapped out on a single channel, going multi-channel helps you increase your sales. It helps you diversify your sales mix, which is fantastic. So you're not at risk with one sales channel. If something happens, with suspension of a relationship, if a brand goes direct, there's lots of ways that you can be at risk with having one sales channel that can go wrong. The final reason is just to expand your brand. If you have a brand and you're only accessing one part of the market, you're not growing your brand as fast as maybe some competitors.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. But when should they start this in their business? I mean, should they primarily start focusing on one sales channel? Obviously, every business, especially when they're starting, has limited resources. So what's the right time for a company to start selling multi-channel?
That's a great question. And I think this is one where we have a little bit of a contrarian viewpoint, or one that people might not expect us to have. In my experience, it makes sense to grow your brand on one channel, to get one channel really right, and to really understand how to make sales happen online. It's going to be a lot easier to do it in one spot and to really understand the challenges there. Amazon is a great spot to start. I'd say that people generally have two paths today. It's either starting on Amazon for a new brand, or starting on Shopify and building a Facebook or Google marketing play. Amazon makes things so easy. They do all this advertising for you. They do fulfillment. You don't have to build out a bunch of business functions to get market validation. And for me, I think once you start to hit $1 million of revenue on one sales channel, Amazon, again, that's not terrifically hard to do for a brand that's going to be massively successful. And at that point, when you can start to invest in your business, you can start to branch off into other channels and do the same exact things that made you successful there, understand the intricacies of other channels, and get it right elsewhere. Otherwise, if you're doing this as a part-time thing, if you have a real, a day job, it's going to be hard to do a really good job in a lot of different places.
Yeah, I would also completely agree with that. There's a client I'm working with right now that was essentially her plan, and that's how we built her company out. And we got her to over 2 million in sales specifically on the Amazon channel, and now her focus is on building out a lot of other channels. So I completely agree with that. I think that's a great idea.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And obviously we mentioned Amazon because it's kind of the big one out there. But what other channels should sellers be paying attention to the most?
Yes, great question. There's some great channels that have been around for a long time, and then there's some great new ones. eBay is still extremely relevant. A lot of business happens on eBay. The sort of the biggest new competitor to Amazon is probably Walmart. People can get very quick success on Walmart doing a lot of the same things that made them successful on Amazon. There's a lot of business going on Walmart right now. There's a lot of exciting companies that are starting multi-channel presences. Facebook and Google could be really big in the long term, especially because they own sort of all the advertising on the internet that's not on Amazon. And then really it kind of depends on your catalog. There's some really great niche marketplaces, Etsy, Newegg. Depending on what you're selling, you want to make sure you're getting to the right clientele.
Yeah, exactly. Every marketplace has different advantages, so I understand that as well. But what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that these sellers face when they're expanding to these new channels, especially whether they're not familiar with it or whether they need to adapt to things?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, specifically for the Amazon group, I'm going to focus on that. Amazon does a lot. Amazon does a lot for you, and that's why it's a really great spot to start. The fulfillment, the customer service, and when you see companies go multi-channel, if they're going too soon, they might not have enough resources to properly dedicate. And that's where some decisions get made, like, trying to put your toes in the water. I'm just going to sell one product. I'm going to try and find the cheapest way to get my products up. It's not the same way that you built your business on Amazon. And it's going to be really hard to be successful there. You need to pay real close attention to the SEO. You need to pay real close attention to the reviews. You need to do customer service that you might not be used to doing. You might need to build a pick and pack operation or sign up with a 3PL, a third-party logistics partner to ship your products, just like FBA is today. If you don't invest in getting it right and you put, a real small percentage of your catalog is actually available for purchase, if none of it's showing up relevant in the search results that your customers are trying to buy, then you're gonna look at it and say, well, this isn't a success. And it's sort of a cycle there because you start off by not investing enough resources, and then you're looking at it and saying 99% of my business is on Amazon. So you start to invest less and less into the multi-channel success and not doing the same things that you might have done to become successful on one channel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not having the resources is a huge problem. And the great FBA, you hit it on the nail on the head. Literally, they handle almost everything, which makes it super convenient, especially when you're first getting started. You don't have to make a lot of hard decisions when it comes to hiring people and warehousing product and all of that. So definitely
it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I mean, do you have any stories, or have you heard of any failures that have happened from when people have tried to expand too quickly or haven't dedicated enough resources and it's caused problems for their business?
Yeah, I think especially with us starting out earlier, maybe we weren't as consultative as we could have been, and we've definitely seen people who tried to start and then just kind of made the decision to pull the plug, or they expected it to be a little more complete magic in making a new channel work. Not, you wouldn't expect that of Amazon, and you shouldn't expect that of some of these other marketplaces or your own storefront. You got to pay close attention. I think we see there's a large segment of sellers that are looking to diversify and go multi-channel early and looking for the cheapest way to do it, and that's where we see a lot of that is where those horror stories kind of happen, or not necessarily horror stories, but not seeing the success and then not continuing to invest in it. Totally understandable there. People trying to fulfill their products, FBA, multi-channel fulfillment to other marketplaces could see suspensions from Amazon. People who don't have their inventory syncing properly, you could wind up ruining your Amazon relationship. You can ruin your Amazon relationship by breaking price parity. You can ruin your Amazon relationship from not fulfilling orders to your customers and having oversells. So, if you don't properly invest, it could be pretty tough on your business.
Yeah, and I think you did just bring up another really good point there about inventory management. And managing inventory has got to be a challenge for a lot of these brands to expand, especially if they're using, FBA, possibly now Walmart fulfillment services, maybe even their own 3PL. So how do you see most companies are managing their inventory planning and demand forecasting across multiple sales channels?
Yeah, it's definitely a tough problem. You want to make sure that you're not there's two main problems that happen with inventory planning, right? If you run out of your products, then you're experiencing high opportunity costs. That means people would have bought, but they didn't because you didn't have any available. And the other is overstocking, or overstocking in the wrong locations, and that could be really tough too, because this is where people might say, I really need to make a purchase of these hot selling products, but I don't have any money to do it. And a lot of times that's because they have a warehouse full of products that aren't moving fast. Yeah. So, the turnover on that's really important. This is where I think automation could really help, but people, there's usually tricks without automation, depending on the scale, looking at your lead times and trying to make sure, if you look at your, the amount you're fulfilling for that lead time by warehouse, which might be servicing multiple channels, you might be able to figure that out with spreadsheets. It's just something you have to be really on top of.
Yeah, definitely. That's another thing that will take a lot of time as you expand. So making sure you have the resources is very important. In addition to that, as well, you're going to have so much data coming in from all these sales channels. And I mean, Amazon has a ton of advertising data. Walmart's advertising data isn't that great. You may be running ads on Facebook. You're collecting a whole bunch of data. So how do you, how have you seen companies handle this, or how do you recommend that they handle their data from multiple sales channels?
Yeah, again, it's one of those that automation is really awesome for. But a lot of companies still do run on just kind of getting these reports and then from disparate places and trying to combine them in Excel, or just logging into the different portals and trying to understand what they need to do in different spots. That part could become overbearing depending on how many channels you have. And that's where, again, if you're not on top of it, you might be missing out on big opportunities. You might be missing trends that are happening, like a huge slowdown or a huge speed up in sales that require your action to make good business decisions on. It's really good. It's really good and really important to be all over the data, all over the analytics on what's happening in your business, on all the different sales channels, as well as advertising.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could be missing huge opportunities that you see for advertising, new ways to drive new customers and acquire a customer that could become loyal to you and hopefully continue to buy your product over time. So with all of that being said, and now we understand more about the challenges that people are facing, what do you think are your best advice, your best tips, or your best practices for managing multiple sales channels? What do you think works best?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that you got to get right. You have to have beautiful looking listings. You have to be compliant with the different sales channels and how the consumers are buying. Browse node behavior happens a lot of times where people click through the different spot and make sure that they find the right product in the right spot, in the right category, as well as the search terms, the SEO. So, I think that's where product data is really, really important, that you have all the information that a consumer might need to make an educated purchase decision, and that the right fields are filled out. Different marketplaces are a little different in how they have their attributes laid out, how they have their browse nodes laid out, their taxonomy. So, that's where it's really important to get all of those little pieces of data 100% right, because that's going to influence how you're perceived by your potential customers. The reviews are really important. You need to get good reviews. Obviously, you need to be shipping out on time. You need to be providing good customer service, and people have to like your product. And to even get those right, you have to be generating those sales and creating that cycle. So that's where that's where I'd really focus, is making sure that all the data is really good. That means that the inventory is 100% right all the time. You're never overselling. Priming the pump, getting some good reviews early, and getting up on those search results, and having all of the key attributes and all of the right categories filled out, and not trying to do that in a cheap and fast way where you just try to get the minimum in there to get a listing up that might not even have the right category, and might not have because then your product might be surfacing in the wrong spot, and definitely not when a buyer comes in looking for exactly what you're selling.
Yeah, I actually just had a recent experience with this with a client that's using Walmart, and the product shelving wasn't correct. So because of that, it was affecting the advertising, causing a lot of other issues. And now we're kind of going through the process of cleaning up the listings, making them more detailed for that specific marketplace and not for what Amazon has. And I think you brought up a really good point about making sure that you have the right data points for each different marketplace. And I think you're going to answer this with the next question, but how does Zentail help e-commerce sellers manage these multiple channels?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we wanted to solve the toughest problems, the ones with the highest ROI. And again, we did this for ourselves to start. We found product data to be extremely difficult to get right across these different sales channels. Everyone has different data, tens of thousands of attributes on Amazon, and the browse knows the taxonomy, the categories. So what we built and what we started with was what we call a smart type system. And what it does is it ingests your data. It automatically knows exactly what the product is. We have tens of thousands of these smart types. And with that, we know exactly which attributes are highly relevant to that product for every marketplace. And we make it very easy to not just take your data. If let's say you're coming from Amazon or from your own website or whatnot, if you can get, once you upload your data into our system understands exactly what it is and what those attributes are. And we also understand exactly what the compliance is for all these marketplaces, and how that maps to the central data we have in Zentail. So we're the only system in the world where it makes it really easy to have high quality listings from ingesting your data and then getting it exactly right on all these different sales channels, and providing you all the tools necessary that you might want to fine tune that based on where it's going. So everything is mapped day one. We also offer the inventory and orders piece, as well as inventory planning. We touched on that earlier. We can help tell you with our analytics exactly and your orders and your inventory, exactly how much to buy. Help you build a purchase order for your supplier, and help you with the entire flow of managing inventory in multiple warehouses. And that gets really deep in terms of how you want to fulfill for different places, how your setup is. Obviously, you touched on it earlier. There's already FBA, now there's Walmart fulfillment services. You might have multiple 3PLs in the mix, and you might want to fall back on your own warehouse. And when you have complicated setups like that, you need to have the proper data, and you don't want to be updating in spreadsheets or picking sort of the cheapest way to get your products up. That's where I think people are not going to be super successful. So yeah, we have an all-in-one suite to solve, I think, the biggest problems that people face going multi-channel. And what we're really focused on is making it simple. Our mission at Zentail is to make e-commerce simple. We want to make it as easy as possible to get this data ingested, to get it to the places it needs to go. And again, with the smart type system, as soon as there's a new marketplace you want access to, if you're ready on one channel, you're ready on all channels. We can enable that without you having to figure out how to get that data right.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you're hitting on a lot of the major pain points that a lot of these sellers are facing. So, I mean, that sounds like a very useful tool. If there are sellers that want to learn more about your product, more about your company, where are the best ways to reach out to you or to check out your product a little bit more?
Yeah, we have a great YouTube channel that shows some of the great product features. Really, the best way is to reach out to us on our website. You can request a demo. We'd love to learn exactly what your problems are, what exactly you're looking to accomplish, and we can show exactly how you would accomplish that with Zentail. And really, we're just happy to learn about these businesses, and really happy to help wherever we can help companies be successful in e-commerce in general.
Awesome. Well, Dan, I really appreciate it. It was great talking with you and learning a little bit more about selling on multi-channel. I think that's a huge opportunity for a lot of sellers. So I think you had a lot of really good advice for people that are interested in that. So again, I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Dan. Have a good day.
You too.